Bloodbath Diablos versus Raging Brachydios is probably one of the few fights I would definitely pay to see in Monster Hunter. Like, it would be the epic and most greatest deviant and variant turf war of all time. And considering these guys are both in the Elder Dragon level class, I don't really think there is a need to really scale. But when it comes down to these two, it's actually pretty interesting. Starting off with Bloodbath Diablos, this is obviously the most justifiable crash out in history. Let's start off with that. And obviously, this dude's aggression, strength, speed, and durability is on a whole nother level. And keep in mind, when it comes to like the strongest of apex predators or dominant life form monsters, Diabloses are up there. Like, these guys are just insanely powerful altogether. And keep in mind, these guys casually, as their base forms in their peaks, right? Like peak male Diabloses, because again, I do think that Bloodbath is a male here. And keep in mind, peak males are around those Devil Joe tiers. Like, they're around those base Devil Joe tiers and stuff like that. Because in order to actually get the right to mate, they have to wrestle with a female Diablos. You know, they gotta beat her. They gotta beat her in order to, do the deed and stuff like that. So with that being said, excuse me, yeah, they're actually able to contend against monsters that terrify Devil Joe. And then you have Bloodbath Diablos, who simply, above all that, his red veins being flushed with levels of adrenaline, and he's so angry that he produces these steam explosions, all right? And keep in mind, he has the same abilities as every other Diablos. He can burrow, but again, it's faster, it's quicker, it's more fluid, more smooth, it's mastered, if you will. And again, he could just add his own flair to it. That same horn here, he can perform corkscrew spins, he can cause steam explosions, and, these massive AoEs that just literally make a whole ton of damage altogether. So Bloodbath Diablos, I would probably say, is coming in with a lot of aggression, a lot of speed, and definitely a whole lot of steam. But with that being said here, now let's talk about his opponent, Raging Brachydios. These are mature males that have undergone their final transformation, right? They bond with this new mold that's pretty much stronger than their average slime mold, called the blast mold. This is actually to, well, make them more attractive towards females. And keep in mind, this also increases their power, and it also means that their obsidian shell is likely more durable. Meaning these are the peak males, or the peak of the Brachydios lineage, okay? And again, it's kind of funny because both of these guys, or both of these monsters here, basically do these certain things to impress mates. But again, with Bloodbath, he ain't got time for all that. So with that being said here, Raging Brachydios' slime mold capabilities allow him to produce high levels or high concentrated amounts of blast-based explosions. And keep in mind, we know his final atonement, if he is in a critical state or is in a dire need to ultimately end this battle right now, kind of like a final ritual, if you will, this guy will pour everything he has into one final atonement, if you will. He'll basically increase his slime mode to its utmost capabilities and just start pouring everything he has into it, creating one massive explosion that honestly would crack its obsidian shell and make it more vulnerable. But again, this is because the entire room, or the entire area, is now his playground, if you will, or basically his final resting place. But with that being said here, let's talk about it. Who do I think wins this matchup more often than not? Well, believe it or not, I think in a standard format, these guys are actually pretty close to each other in terms of physical strength. However, I do think Bloodbath takes the edge in terms of speed here. It's a lot more flushed with its adrenaline, meaning it's always moving at a rapid pace, the turns, the twists, and everything. Now, let's actually answer the real big question, right? Can Raging Brachydios explosions, right, reach to where Bloodbath Diablos erupts from the ground? And in all honesty, I would probably say yes in certain ways, and then no in others. Do I think they're powerful enough to harm Bloodbath? Yes, I do. But do I think they're powerful enough to slow him down? Absolutely not. This is really what that adrenaline does here. It kind of does make him ignore some of the conventional pain that Bloodbath is able to, normally take on a regular basis. And I do think that because of Diablos' overwhelming speed and the fact that he's willing to get close, like up front, plus with the fact that he does have a huge speed gap on Raging Brachydios here, not to say Raging Brachydios is slow, but Bloodbath just has it in spades here. And I actually do think he is likely the most, he is the most likely to close the distance immediately. And with that kind of speed and stuff, I think he would definitely be able to get the upper hand on Raging Brachydios in terms of close quarters range. Meaning the fact that Raging Brachydios may actually get injured early on in the fight actually does say a lot here. Because again, imagine if he does, close the distance before Raging Brachydios could really start swinging its arms and stuff like that there, then that means a good horn stab honestly could change the factor. However, I do think Raging Brachydios can definitely counter a lot of the attacks that whatchamacallit, excuse me, that Bloodbath can produce. I do think the steam explosions are definitely going to be a good counter to a lot of the slime molds, maybe even set a few off prematurely. However, if it comes down to like the final atonement or the final battle between the two here, both injured and stuff like that, I could definitely see Bloodbath rushing Raging, and as he's doing the thing and probably getting that final stab off. And it's very possible this could likely end in a double death. Like, I'm not even kidding. They could likely damage each other so much that they just ultimately end the other person right then and there. So, believe it or not, I do think this is 50-50. But I would definitely lean towards Bloodbath a bit more because he's able to close the distance a lot quicker than the other one. A lot quicker than Raging. But that is going to be all for today, guys. Please comment down below, like and subscribe and share with your friends. And I'll see you guys for another video. Peace.